Market to Market is everywhere you are. Subscribe to Market on YouTube, find us on the PBS video app to stream on demand, and add our 3 podcasts on your favorite podcasting app.
Obviously, we shut down the restaurant for 6, 7, 8 weeks. I can't remember, but we did to-go orders, and that was slow. I mean, it was a lot of to-go orders compared to what we normally do, but you can't do that type of volume. You're selling food, now you're not selling a drink with it.
Charlie Kretzinger's Dubuque, Iowa business was hit hard by the economic side effects of COVID-19 in 2020. Income streams like catering and river cruises are anchored to his restaurant, Catfish Charlie's, located on the banks of the Mississippi River.
You got the filet on the back here? Right around the front. We call them collars. So we're going to saute some of that up in a white wine clam sauce.
Kretzinger says sales have bounced back 25% over 2 years ago, but he blames the pandemic's generous unemployment benefits for his recent kitchen tenure.
That's our Cajun catfish with a Cajun shrimp Creole. We take catfish to another level, and we're proud of our catfish.
A fresh Iowa catch matters to local economies of scale, but state officials estimate the value of all fish and their eggs along Big Muddy's Hawkeye Coast at just $600,000 annually.
American Lady out.
That's a drop in the bucket compared to the $320 million the Hawkeye State rakes in, licensing 500,000 anglers every year. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources says around 180 Iowa-licensed commercial fishermen and helpers work the Mississippi River every year, and their profits, along with Kretzinger's, are tied in part to the health of the river.
In Dubuque County, we have a lot of highly erodible land. Stream bank erosion, the more sediment we can keep out of our streams, it's huge for aquatic life, the Mississippi River, and so forth.
On the shoulders of previous regional farm-related water quality and habitat efforts, an ambitious new approach looks to dovetail into a larger proactive environmental framework.
The city of Dubuque was the first city in the state of Iowa to enter an MOU with the DNR as it relates to kind of the process of how the nutrient reduction exchange would work.
Eric Schmeckel is Watershed Program Director with Dubuque Soil and Water Conservation District, working to implement the Iowa Nutrient Exchange Project with city and state partners.
It is not a law, it's a voluntary approach, a partnership with point source and non-point source water permits that look at how we can work together to improve water quality.
Officials say a handful of other Iowa cities and towns, like Cedar Rapids, are adopting a similar approach. Dubuque's Urban-Rural Pact builds upon the state's Nutrient Reduction Strategy, or NRS. First enacted in 2013, the guidelines are designed to combat Iowa's alleged disproportionate contribution to the weather, chemical, land, and water use cocktail down by the Mississippi River and delivered into the Gulf of Mexico. The resulting oxygen-deprived or hypoxic region, more commonly known as the dead zone, has been plagued by seasonal runoff-fed algae growth. In June, scientists forecast a so-called average area, nearly 5,000 square miles, could develop there this summer. Environmental critics say Iowa's goal to reduce nutrient flows by 45% has no teeth. But Schmeckel says his NRS-aligned conservation work with upstream farmers goes further, with an alternative to traditional municipal compliance.
Let's say he wants to convert a field to no-till, or he wants to put a buffer in along a stream. We then model those practices on his field stream using what's called the nutrient tracking tool. We get then outputs of what those reductions are as for both phosphorus and nitrogen. We enter those outputs into a federal database that the DNR then checks, and then the city of Dubuque can claim some of that credit back into their permit.
So I got 17 different species growing in here to try to stimulate my biology.
Cover crops have become an important piece of the financial puzzle for Eric Miller, who raises row crops outside Cascade, Iowa.
The longer you can keep the living root in the soil, the quicker it's going to change the soil.
His plants sequester carbon, build beneficial bacteria to boost traditional commodity yields, and in some cases, bring value-added returns from niche markets.
Just this past year, We started malting our own grains, growing and malting barley here for local breweries. It's almost like a side effect, the better water quality.
Miller says the deeper roots scavenge for nutrients corn and soybeans can't reach, and during rain events, his soil now sponges up and slows down stormwater runoff. He tracks the field data and says he's been able to slice pest and disease control expenses as well.
Anytime there's nutrients leaving our farm, that's money leaving our farm. This is a way for me to kind of take control of my input costs, improve my bottom line.
While an immense volume of agricultural products move down the upper Mississippi corridor, Miller says Iowa's #1 export is still topsoil, and endless work remains. Time will tell, but some in the farm sector point to new national priorities on climate change as one way growers coast to coast might cash in on conservation through emerging carbon markets.
Anything we can do in the United States to keep things cleaner and better is a beautiful thing.
Though Kretzinger's primary bounty of bottom feeders are at home in the muck downstream, the former farm kid appreciates Iowa's growing stewardship strides.
Farming's big business, so when you take ground away from them guys, it hurts them, you know? We're asking them to do things to keep our world a better place. They should be paid for that.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Buettner.